of you have taught somebody on the spectrum? Is anyone who's actually on the spectrum here today? No? Okay. So, it is predicted that around about 1 in every 100 Australians are on the autism spectrum. It is also said that around about 1 in 68 students are on the autism spectrum. So at one point, you are going to come across somebody on the spectrum. My name is Bryce Pace, and I'm an autism advocate and speaker. So first of all, let's start off with what is autism? So I'm pretty sure most of you have probably heard the word before, tossed around in that, and but how many of you have actually know what it actually is? So the dictionary defines autism as a mental condition present from early childhood, characterized by great difficulty in communicating and forming relationships with other people, and in using language and abstract concepts. Now, when I was researching for this presentation, I also found out that this word originated from the early 20th century, and there was originally with reference to a condition in which fantasy dominates over reality, regarded as a symptom of schizophrenia and other related disorders. However, is this what autism is? Why don't we... So now I'm going to show you a bit of a video that was produced by a 4th grade student in the US for his 4th grade class to explain what autism is.
This video was written and performed by me using a computer software called Logic Pro X. Let me tell you a little about myself. I have fun dancing. I have fun making music. I love to draw and make art. And wait for it, I have this thing called autism. I didn't speak until I was almost 3 years old. In fact, my parents weren't sure if I would ever speak at all. And we all know how that turned out.
Hi, this is Geometry George here, or Geo for short, and we're going to talk all about quadrilaterals and how they're all around us.
Most of the time, I can make eye contact with you when you speak to me. That wasn't always the case. Like a lot of other kids with autism, I might not have been looking, but that didn't mean I wasn't listening. Speaking of listening, I can hear and see a lot of things and sounds all at the same time, which sometimes makes it hard to focus on any one sound or thought. That's why it may take a little more time to answer you when you ask me a question. I also tend to take what people say literally. That means if you say, take a seat, you might find one less chair in your classroom. If you say it's raining cats and dogs, I might think, ooh, I'm getting a puppy. If you say fall is coming, I might plop to the ground. If you say I'm so hungry I could eat a horse, I might get a little nauseous. If you say play music by ear, I might usually bang my head on the piano. And if you say keep your eyes peeled, that's just gross. So if you're very specific when you talk to me, everybody wins. Let's talk about my senses. I love to touch and feel different textures and temperatures. Not all kids with autism like touching or being touched, but I do. I I don't like yogurt. I don't think that has anything to do with my autism, but the fact that I can smell it from across the room, yeah, that probably does. I'm extremely enthusiastic about a lot of different things. Sometimes when I get very excited about something, I flap my hands or bounce up and down, or as you may have already noticed, I sometimes get frustrated when I get interrupted or when something doesn't go as planned.
You can't pretend it's gonna go, George.
Or when something unexpected happens, or when I make a mistake, or when I don't get called on, or when
But I messed up.
or when I don't get a turn. Those last two are just kid things to be frustrated about, and I'm a kid just like you. 'Cause all us kids are different in our own ways, right? Sometimes I get so frustrated that I get more upset than most people would, for longer than most people should. I might get too loud, or I might scream!
Okay. Okay.
Don't look down.
I love you.
Don't be afraid to come ask me about it.
No, seriously, it's okay. Just come ask me about it.
I like having fun, just like you. So if you ever see me playing by myself, it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't want to play with you too. I always want to play with you. I like the same stuff you do. I think farts are hilarious, but not all the time. I like Harry Potter,
Leviosa.
My Singing Monsters, Minecraft, and tacos. Thank you for hearing all about me and my adventures with autism.
Typical kid who just loved life. However, that changed when I reached primary school. For the first 2 years, I mostly sat in class with the occasional bit of pencil sharpening. I didn't really understand what was going on. I couldn't even read until grade 2. And if the constant bullying and lack of understanding wasn't bad enough, it actually got worse after my diagnosis. So after I was diagnosed, my primary school decided that, well, pretty much they thought they knew how to fix me, pretty much. They put me into special classes that taught me life skills that pretty much not many people really use. Like, how many of you use a phone book these days? No one? Well, I was actually taught how to read a phone book. Yet I have not used that skill since. For maths, I was taught how to bake packet mix cakes. And because of all this, I was actually, when I reached secondary school, I was 2 years behind the rest of my peers, which scared me. I started to doubt myself, doubt that I could ever reach year 12, let alone finish it. Now, from better include those of us on the autism spectrum in class. So there's 3 ways here that can start the conversation. Treat us like you would any other student, because we are just like any other student. Don't think we aren't smart just because we don't raise our hand in class. Most of the time, when we don't raise our hand in class, it's because we're scared that, what would happen if we get the question wrong? We have all these thoughts go through our head. We're nervous. Are people going to mock us for getting the answers wrong? What's going to happen in the playground? It's those sorts of things that run through our head on a constant basis. And don't underestimate our ability to learn. Just like any other student, there are things that we really want to learn. Okay, so now we've got about 8 minutes left, so if there's any questions that you may have, just raise your hand, and there might be a mic coming around.
Thank you, Bryce. At the moment, I'm a homeroom teacher with a terribly anxious autistic boy, to the point that he misses school, etc. Now, what you've done is obviously overcome so many things. How did you do it?
I have 3 autistic children in my class, all very different, and I've got you 4. None of them are aware that they have autism. Their parents are too scared to tell them that they have autism because they're scared that they think that that's an excuse, and they'll just use it as an excuse like, oh, it doesn't matter because I have autism. How was it for you when you found out that you had autism? Did it make you feel like more understanding of, oh, well, that's why it's different for me?
Well, it actually... it didn't actually make much of a difference. I don't actually remember, doing any of the tests or anything like that to be diagnosed. It didn't really make much of a difference to me because autism is just another part of me, another part of my personality in that. It has helped in some facts that later on where, I have difficulty in social situations and that. And because I know I'm on the spectrum now, I know that, it's because of that. So I can actually use that and practice a bit more and get to the point where I can now kind of hold a good enough of a conversation to, get answers out of all that sort of stuff. So is there any other questions or? Still got 5 minutes left.
If you wanted to make a difference with autism, what would you say would be one thing in the classroom you'd like to change?
So what was that? Was that
So with autism in the classroom, what would be one thing you would like to change with teachers, how we perceive autism with our teaching? And
I guess maybe start. Well, the main thing is pretty much, whenever possible, sit down with parents and even the student and see where they're at and what's the best way for them to learn. Because the parents and the student themselves, they're the experts on how they learn best. And of course, there's the basic acceptance, so there's plenty of resources online and that to sort of promote, all the positive things of being on this autism spectrum. So there's stuff like, it is actually, it's predicted that around about half of the NASA is actually on the spectrum. Another thing that Temple Grandin says quite a bit is that Silicon Valley would not actually exist without people on the spectrum. So,
Bryce, I'd just like to say I'm absolutely amazed and so incredibly inspired by you, and I congratulate you on all that you've obviously achieved in life, considering obviously a lot of things that you've had to deal with, and certainly to Mum and your support around you. I think you're just amazing, and continue to do this because you're just such a great inspiration. Well done. All the best for the future.
Congratulations, Bryce. I also just wanted to make comment that I think it's important. I'm also a mum of an autistic child, and he's flying, he's doing amazing things. He's recently been selected to go to America.
I have them in the classroom, and then I have adult students, so I get them after they leave school. Or walk out.
Mum, can you just hold the mic?
Okay, sorry. Okay. With Bryce announcing he had autism, he's actually got an older brother with autism, and it was from day one. I knew they knew that was it. I see autism as not a disability, but it's a clue on how to teach him, that's all. And Bryce and Michael, his older brother, they regulate themselves. They know if they're tired, they know they get autistic. They have a bit of fun with it. I called his brother last week, he was tired and he's stressed. He said, well, no, Mum, I'm getting a bit autistic, I need a bit of bed. So it's an advantage. You've got these amazing children and you're going to change the world. They're not going to be normal. What's normal anyway? These are the kids that invented the wheel. There was one thing Temple Grandin did say. She said, without autism, we were still standing around in caves being social. These kids are going to change the world, and for everyone that doesn't, what have we lost? We've lost the cure to cancer. We've lost the person that's going to put someone on Mars. For every one of these kids that doesn't get through. These are the kids we've got to help all kids, but these kids in particular have got the potential to change the world. So you treat them like any other kid. They've all got quirks. And you work with it. And I don't want to see them when they're 20.
Okay, so we're actually gone a little bit over time. So if there's any other questions, feel free to, there's still time to book a meeting with me. You can come up and talk to me after this. I do have some business cards over here. You can also contact me with by any of these details up here. So I'd like to just thank you all for coming along today, and I hope I can maybe talk to some of you after this. So thank you.